Today, we play with onions. Welcome back to another episode of Food Exploration. Today, we will look at and test what are the best methods to prep and cut an onion, using traditional methods, new methods, and maybe a few hacks too. Famous chef Heston Blumenthal always said, question everything. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with this series, challenging some of the old school way of doing things, and maybe coming up with better methods through our experiment. So we decided to start with some of the basics and fundamentals of cooking. Onions are literally one of the most common and versatile vegetables in kitchens all over the world. They come in many colors and varieties. It is the base and foundation for literally so many recipes. So that's why we thought it was an obvious choice for our testing. And if you can get better and faster at prepping your ingredients, you will be a better cook. The first and probably most important step is having a sharp knife. If your knife is not sharp, any form of cutting will suck. If you guys would like us to make a video on knife sharpening, please leave a comment below. So the first step we have to do before cutting the onion is peeling it, obviously. So the way we are taught at culinary school is to peel the onion whole using a paring knife. So the way you do it is take the top off and then using the knife, just peeling paper layer. But you see how already annoying it is when it's really thin? I really hate this method. So not all onions are this difficult to peel. And then at the end, we would just cut the bulb, the root bulb, leaving part of it attached so that the onion holds itself together. I'm already crying. For crying, the best I've found is use a little fan. It actually does work. All right, so let me tell you, I have a problem with this method. It's a fucking pain in the ass. Why? It is very rare that we will use the onion whole. Maybe for some onion rings or something, but I can't think of many examples. So 95% of the time, you will cut the onion in half anyway. So why not cutting them in half first? It will make them super easy to peel. Let me just show you. First, I cut the bottom and the top, as usual, and then straight away in half. And then this way, I can just peel out immediately like that. And yes, you do waste a little bit of onion, but it's okay. It can go in the stock, soups, or whatever. So in restaurants, if you have a mountain of onions to do, trust me, you will save a ton of time. Now we can start cutting the onions. There are two main ways of cutting onions: slicing and dicing. Let's start with slicing. You can either slice against the grain or with the grain. So you can see the difference between the two. I would say that against the grain, they would fall apart a little bit more easily and probably release their juice a little bit more. And like this, they will probably hold their shape a little bit more. Depending on what you want, choose your cut. Now onto the dicing. So the way we were taught at culinary school how to dice is first, you cut the onions in half, put it on the side like this. You will do little cuts like this with the grain. And then carefully holding the onion, you will do one crust cut. And you see I'm not going all the way since the onion still holds itself. And then I will gather together and then cut the other way around. And then you can drop it down and maybe get a couple more like this. And you get even dicing like this. So I'm not a really big fan of this technique. First of all, because you leave this much onion behind, which is really hard to kind of get around. All the chefs says, oh, we're gonna use this for stock, but if you're at home, you don't make stocks every week. Another thing I don't really like with this method is because you have to do so many cuts in the onion. The onion is very unstable and it kind of falls apart. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass. For the second methods, we're gonna follow the natural curves of the onions. They already did the job for us. So we'll go around this way. And then finally across like this. As you can tell, the results are pretty similar. Now you might ask, what if I want a really fine dice? Well, the easiest methods that anybody can do would be the cross chopping, just like that, where you just keep chopping down until it's fine enough for your tasting. When it comes to shallots, because they are so small and sometimes you want them cut extremely fine, there's one last method that was first introduced to me by Marco Pierre White. Let me show you how it goes. Okay, instead of just cutting across the onions like we did in the previous methods, I will just start peeling the onions separately into their individual small little sheets. And then from there, I'm gonna julienne them very small. Once I have a very, very small julienne, I will put them the other way and do a very, very fine dice. Look at the results of these little jewels. Not a single technique can give you such a small little dice. All right, it's time for the cutting hacks, starting with the slicing. At a restaurant, we use a mandolin all the time. It's just a great way to get a consistent slice, very efficient and very fast. The way you would normally use it, use the screw to figure out your thickness, and then simply use the onion or the vegetable, and then palms up so you watch your fingers, and then slice it like this. Of course, feel free to use the guard. A little pro tip, when you get really close to the end, I like to use a fork. I just stab it just like that in the end of the vegetables, and then this way I can speed through it, speed through the last slices, just like that. And look at how beautiful and consistent the cut is. All right, on to the dicing. So you have different little machines that you can use for dicing, but today I'm gonna use a fry cutter because it works just the same. I will use my half onion and then put it in the machine, making sure that the layers are in the opposite way. And then from here, I'm just gonna press, and then boom, you have more or less a diced onion. Works pretty well. All right, in conclusion, there's nothing wrong with the traditional methods, but in my professional experience, I prefer some of the new methods. And also using the mandolin and the fry cutter as hacks is a very, very good tool when the volume is very high. All right, that'll be it for today, and we'll see you in the next episode.
If you don't subscribe, I'll shove this onion up your butt. Why don't you click on this video first?